Greetings, all you fabulous folk out there in listener land, and welcome to a somewhat reduced installment of
We've undergone.
Disinformed After Dark. I'm Shane,
And I'm Michael.
and this is what it's. We've decided to go to the Smodcast model of podcasting. It's just going to be one loudmouthed fat guy and, another cat in glasses who's going to be understated and occasionally mispronounce things.
Occasionally, thank you for the compliment.
Once or
I
twice,
appreciate
yes.
that.
Hey, listen, you've been far better at your diction these days.
Could have fooled me.
I've surveyed the writs that you've written, and they're really well-written writs. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that I can write writs really well.
Yes, they're and now I need to see your briefs. But
no.
in any
I'm
event,
not allowed. I have to wear pants. It is established.
Hey, we've already seen your briefs. Your shorts are blowing up here on the tubes of you. They're all over the place. But in case you're blissfully unaware, we are at least half of the co-hosts of a very, very popular conservative podcast. I kid. A very popular podcast called the Disinformed Podcast, which flees your preferred provider app every marvelous Monday morning. We talk about esoteric nonsense and we lie about it, much like the Republicans. And
get him!
I'm trying to get shot today, apparently. But what we do here on the Tubes of You is we have little companion shows where we decompress from recording episodes, feel abandoned by our podcast co-hosts, and wallow in self-pity while making one another laugh. That's largely what we typically do. Am I getting that, the general consensus?
Yeah. It's our coping mechanism. This show is our coping mechanism.
Yes. As Reader's Digest told me as a child, laughter is indeed the best medicine, and I am very, very well medicated at the moment. So, after a week of Dorothea Puente and talking about someone making a killing, we're going to dive into Chuck Klosterman's glorious Supertheticals. If you are unfamiliar, we did the entire box of the Hypertheticals, which you'll see over my left shoulder here, which constituted the bulk of the first 52 episodes of Disinformed After Dark. There's a playlist that has all of those detailed. So you can watch us dip our toe in the water and then become actual experts at Klostermanism. Getting a high Klosterman, as we'd like to call it. But we've now moved on to the next box of the Supertheticals, which are really delightful and a little bit more metaphysical, which certainly works for Michael and I, because we get metaphysical all the time.
Let me tell you about an ancient Greek philosopher.
and his dogs and poop.
Yes.
But, all right. So this one's going to be interesting. This is a specific person. So this person that we have to conceptualize before being asked the question is someone who is significant to you, not necessarily the most significant person, but someone who played an important role in your life. So have we formulated a notion of an individual? Do you ever have a special teacher, band leader, parish priest who may have slipped you a Mickey?
Everyone hated me. No, I got someone.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a woman way over town. All right. The question is, imagine that this person had never been born. What are 3 things about your life that would be irrefutably different? I.e., people you would never have met, choices you would never have made, experiences you never would have had. Can you think of anything about your life that might actually improve from their absence?
Okay. Well, the person I chose was one of my Scoutmasters from
Scoutmaster Kevin?
No.
Oh, okay.
He pretty much guided the Boy Scout troop before I was there, from like the late 90s all the way up until I left in around 2009.
Okay. Did you get your Weeblo badge?
I actually was not a Weeblo.
Well, John's going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, that
so
was
are Wayne and Dewan, apparently.
But yeah, I feel like my appreciation of Boy Scouts would have been a lot less. I might have even left Boy Scouts. I think about it. Which, considering I don't really uphold any of the Boy Scout honor, I don't really live the Boy Scout lifestyle, I don't really do any of that stuff.
You know how to start fire by rubbing sticks together. I've seen your thighs.
Well, that's something I developed naturally.
Indeed.
No training for Boy Scouts.
Dummy thick.
Yeah, you can hear the episodes coming from a mile away.
Indeed.
Oh, a new episode's coming out. I can hear it.
Now make it clap.
The clapper.
I'm falling and I can't clap up.
A clap activated life alert.
Some grandma trying to twerk her way off the floor. I broke my hip.
I must twerk to live.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
The 50th year anniversary of that song.
Indeed.
Should do that.
I'm sorry that I've corrupted your glorious story about your misspent youthful adventures with the Boy Scouts, but please continue.
Not corrupted. There was nothing really interesting there. It was cool, to go out and camp and do all those fun Boy Scout things, and I guess those things were nice, but when I left it, I didn't really do anything with Boy Scouts. I couldn't even benefit from being in Boy Scouts and being an Eagle Scout because I forgot to submit the paperwork to get an Eagle Scout scholarship to college. So I pretty much was in it for no reason other than life experience, which makes it sound like an unpaid internship.
No, the true worth that you got is the friends you made along the way, Michael.
Okay. I didn't really make friends there.
And you don't need no stinking badges.
No.
But so what are some of the things that you feel like you would have missed out on, or some choices that you would have made in the larger scheme of things?
Well, I would have left Boy Scouts and tried to go into some other activity.
Like early onset podcasting?
Yeah.
Could have been an early adopter of internet radio.
So you know what Let's Plays are on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So in college, I think around 2011, 2012, a couple of friends and I wanted to actually try and get into the Let's Play business, or air quotes business. This was even before YouTube was monetizing their stuff. So we actually played, we recorded, I think like an hour's worth, because that's all that my friend's computer could fit of audio and video. We tried playing the old Aragon game from the PlayStation 2. So the video game
still own.
Yes, I do. The game that's based off of the movie that's based off the game. So yeah, because it was absolute trash, but we couldn't figure out we needed to buy more storage size in order to be able to adequately record. And also no one had any audio or video editing techniques or software. So it was one of those things like, oh man, we should have done this. And now thinking back, long before Let's Plays became super popular, I'm like, oh man, that's the one thing that I could have gotten into early, but no.
You could have twitched.
I could have been the Twitch.
You could have, indeed. Yes.
That was entirely not intentional. I don't know why I twitched there. Anyway, I honestly don't know what I would have gotten into after Boy Scouts, because I had already done karate beforehand, and I'm not really a big sport person. Karate and Scouts were the most physical activities I do. So I don't know what I would have done. But if he wasn't there, I definitely would not have enjoyed Boy Scouts as much. In part because a lot of the people that took on roles afterwards were a lot more religious. And he wasn't strictly not religious, but he didn't factor that into Boy Scouts. We didn't do some prayer stuff at the beginning of every meeting, or stuff like that. We didn't have a scout chaplain, and if we did, he didn't do anything. So it was really nice. I felt like everyone was getting along, and then they did bring back religion into it towards the end of my career in there, and so I didn't like it as much.
Not that there's anything wrong with
no,
except that there is, but
getting forced to do these things and asking if I want to do prayers for meals and stuff, I was like, I don't know any of that.
There's
raised it
right. There's a difference between fervency of faith and sort of forced attrition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I definitely would have dropped out of Boy Scouts a lot sooner had that happened. And because he was there, he gave me a lot of confidence in myself. He was the one one of the merit badges is the cycling merit badge. In order to get it, you have to ride 50 miles,
Ah,
and in one sitting, essentially. And I was really struggling then, um, even at the very, very beginning, because I was just pushing myself too hard. I was telling myself, it was mainly, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And he really helped me see that, yes, I can. It's very easy. So I stopped struggling, and I was able to ride with the rest of the Boy Scouts at the front. And it was one of those like cheesy, corny movies where it's like, you just gotta believe in yourself, son.
I was like, you just claimed that he gave you the From Software Reddit hazing of just
Yeah,
like,
just
just get good.
yeah, but
It's easy.
it was in it was in a nicer way. Like, you can do this. You've been training up to
Okay.
it. You shouldn't be struggling. Like, just, you got this.
Okay.
Like, not a get good, go out there, but it was a better pep talk than what I'm giving,
All
obviously.
right. No.
Yeah,
Well, okay. That
yeah,
that definitely seems impactful.
yeah. And that's, I mean, I still remember it to this day, and that was 15 odd years ago, 15,
Okay.
16. So yeah, I think that puts that summarizes it pretty well.
Okay.
Just mhm.
Well, I had a different kind of take on this initially, and then I'll take a couple stabs at this. Initially, I was thinking of Superfan Steven. Uh,
Ah,
which of
okay.
course there's any number of things I would be bereft of with
Yes.
a number of wonderful conversations, interesting perspectives, and a slew of amazing artwork which you can check out
Mm-hmm.
on the regular,
Oh
many of
yeah.
which is featured on this channel. But as you're saying this, it kind of made me pivot because I don't want to contemplate the concept of
Not
non-existing Steven.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go the other direction. So I actually had a really influential individual in my life who I would consider technically my mentor, who I met when I was a sophomore in high school, and he was my English teacher at the time. We kind of started to share like kind in a different state of mind because I refused to take part in a group project. Go figure. I
Huh,
had
huh.
chrome plated balls on me as a kid. My high school career is just a string of me saying, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." Um, and so the justification I gave was that the individuals who I was in the group with, which this actually happened, they all claimed they wanted to get together, bring some beers out to the desert, and we could work on our Shakespeare project together. And I'm like, I don't.
That sounds very,
It's
like,
very
especially
Havasu.
small,
Yes.
yeah,
Uh
small
huh.
town Arizona. Yeah, that seems like it.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna do this, and furthermore, like I feel like I don't want to be around these people. It's not something I'm into. So I was like, I will take whatever extra work I need to do. So I had to give an entire soliloquy from Julius Caesar in front of the class, which I willingly did rather than take part in this group project.
And you
So
probably enjoyed it way more than having to do any sort of group project.
there's a degree to which I thought he probably is like, okay, this kid's got moxie, since I was going to school in the 1930s, and so it created this weird sort of friendship and nay bond between he and I. And when we started out of my sophomore year into my junior year, he's like, "Do you want to be my TA?" Because I'm thinking about starting up a literary journal with the high school, and I'd like to have you be able to be the a contributor to that because I'd written poetry and other nonsense that you
Yeah.
do as a
Mhm.
wafting sophomore. So I started working as his TA, and this is where my life really changed. It's an odd fulcrum of my existence that happened because I started hanging out with faculty members instead of my contemporaries. Like I hung out in the teachers' lounge,
Mhm.
and I wound up being his TA for 2 years,
Huh.
which you're supposed to do a semester of
Yeah.
being a TA. I just strung it along and he kept approving it as an
Yeah.
advisor. So, and I took all English classes basically as I was going out of high school. Once you started getting into electives where people were taking like the pre college courses and the prep
Yeah.
stuff, I was
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to take a bunch of writing classes because that's what I'm good at. And it kind of set this precedent. But also, through him, we started doing open mic nights. We'd go out and read poetry because for the literary magazine, we would
Oh.
go out and masquerade in front of folks.
Mhm.
I was in choir at the time and doing concerts and things like that, but I had started writing music as well. So during slow nights when we wouldn't have a lot of other contributors and I was the only person doing the open mic nights, that's when I started performing music. So I started playing my own songs, and then I wound up just doing open mic nights completely by myself, hosting other artists. Met up with some folks from the Lake Havasu Musicians Network and started contributing there. So Lowell Smith, really excellent guy who I met doing that. But my English teacher, Vic Lombardi, who shout out to Vic if he's out there in the world seeing this out of the ether, he actually started showing up and doing music with me. He would sing like Dave Matthews
Oh,
songs and Police
huh.
songs while I played guitar. Really cool guy. Was one of my best friends as I went through. We spent countless evenings hanging out. And then, of course, he got into a relationship with another teacher, and that kind of, dynamic was weird with me constantly. Is like him having this 17-year-old kid around all the time kind of became strange. But that was really one of the major formulating factors of my personality. So I'm not sure I really would have been able to transition so quickly into being quote unquote a working musician, and I certainly wouldn't have made as many of the contacts as quickly. Certainly wouldn't have easily adopted the love of songwriting because I initially didn't think I was very good until we started doing the poetry readings and going through all these things. And
Oh,
he really
huh.
encouraged me to kind of explore my creative mediums and the various milieus that I would find. Started with poetry, which easily works into songwriting. So I think I would be a fundamentally different human being if
Wow.
I had not met him specifically, and I who knows where the
Huh.
heck I would be right now. So those are a bunch of fundamental things. If there would be any positives that might have occurred if I had never met him, I'm not sure. There were so many really fabulous things that occurred, and just one, being able to finally stop feeling like an outsider, because I never really related to my peers. So to finally have the ability to hang out with, adults and be seen as a contemporary there and speak in a fashion that didn't leave me feeling like I had nothing to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah.
Like my penchant for speaking about pop culture and things that interest me really developed there. They were kind of the Clerks generation of people that just stood around talking about weird things that they watched in movies they liked, books that they'd read. And so I wound up just kind of being this weird little understudy where they'd say, "Hey, if you like, go read this book, go check this out, go read this author." And so I
Huh.
formulated a lot of my personality just from being around those folks, and I would have been irreconcilably different if I had not met him and the individuals that I subsequently met. So,
Huh.
fun bit of
Shoot. Because
discussion there.
because I know you've told that story before about starting at open mic nights with
Hmm.
poetry and then graduating into, or not graduating, but evolving into music. So
Hmm.
that's actually cool to see the like the origin to that origin story.
Yeah,
Is
and it's 24 years of having played music live because of that. I started essentially when I was 17 and have been rolling this nonsense since. So it's really easy to forget and lose perspective on a lot of those things, but it was initially just done as a labor of love. And I didn't even drink coffee at the time, which there's a whole
whoa,
nother spectrum
whoa.
of, yeah, I was raised in a religion where
Oh,
coffee
that's
was
true.
was bad bombing.
That's true. That's true.
And so
Man.
through doing those open mics at coffee shops, I wound up being fully corrupted by a gentleman named Joel Smith at Java Rush in Lake Havasu City, who, after my 3-hour sets, would be like, "Hey, listen, you've been sitting here all night. At least let us make you a drink. Like, try the coffee. Trust me, you'll like it." So they gave me what is tantamount to like a caramel frappuccino or a
Mhm.
frappe these days, and instantly made me fall in love with the sugary sweetness of coffee consumption. And eventually I got around to appreciating the actual flavor of coffee itself as opposed to just mainlining sugar masquerading as coffee. So
Huh.
interesting exploration there. And really thank you as
Yeah.
well for going that direction, because otherwise this would have been a very dour and frightening discussion of me saying like, well, my current colleague were dead, how would my life be different?
Well,
So
I had to
sorry,
think
Stephen.
I had to think about it because I couldn't choose between my that's the scoutmaster and my
Mhm.
mom. So I was like,
I would
well,
say
what do
your
you
mom is a pretty significant person, so yeah.
exactly? And
Yeah.
then when you're like, well, what would happen if they didn't exist? I'm like, well, that answers that question super easy. So I guess I'm not going to choose my
Yeah.
mom. I wouldn't exist. Huh? There we go. That's the answer. Done.
Well, you learn something new every day, and we are
Yeah.
certainly still constantly learning something new about each other as we're on here, because I wouldn't have pegged you as a Scouts kid. Wow, that came out poorly.
I,
That was not in the
I,
context I expected. I
I
wouldn't have
get it.
suspected that you enjoyed Scouts.
I really love the outdoor aspect.
Okay.
And I have that sort of, I hate using the term libertarian. I have that because it's
Live
just been,
free or die.
I can't afford medication for my stroke.
Oh, so die.
Anyway, but I have that sort of kind of free nature where I do like to be out in nature. And I
Yeah.
do like that sort of self-sufficient sort of ideal. It's just something that I don't get to do being a starving college student for the past 11 years. But it's something I always really enjoyed, that sort of like being outdoors.
Okay, so you're on the verge of throwing your life away.
Yeah.
I
I appreciate the pun, and also yes.
I am so rarely able to make librarian jokes on this show that it makes me very happy and uplifted to be able to get away with that one.
That I don't like puns, but that one was exquisite.
Fantastic. You can just hollow out a tree somewhere and just, figure it out.
Just gonna stay next to a pond. Hey, well, that would have to be a long drive because there's not really ponds around here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's man-made lakes. You can try Lake Havasu. Or Lake Havasoma, depending upon who you ask. Well, strangely enough, this will leave us because I know we said we are going to do shorter things, and then I start talking. So I actually screamed profanity in church for the first time because of Scouts. And that's a story
Okay.
I can't help but tell. So I'm an introvert generally. I don't like social gatherings. So as a kid, you had to put a gun to my head to get me to leave the house, and my father was willing. But but in any event, it was really difficult, and a lot of the church functionality revolved around Boy Scouts. It's an easy transition.
Yep, I can definitely say that 70% of the Boy Scout troops in Arizona when I was around, all LDS.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way to build community. It's bonding, and then it's teaching you, wholesome life experiences and things that Captain Slippy Fist. But so the difficulty was one, I didn't like being outdoors. I was a sedentary fat kid who felt awkward around other people. So Scouts was not built for me. And they kept trying to make me go, and I would politely decline. And my brother did it because he's a better human being than I am, but I refused to be cowed, as evidenced by most of my other general conduct. And so finally, I got to where I was like 12, and they were talking about a little retreat they were going to have where the whole deacons quorum, for those of you who are, Reformed Mormons or functioning Mormons.
If you're in the know, you're in the know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So the Deacons Quorum was going to go out to this event, and they were going to be out in the woods. They were going to be doing some derby car racing and things like this. And they said, in this, there's 2 adults, mind you, said, and we know Shane won't be there.
Ooh, called you out?
And what's even worse, I was the president of the Deacons Quorum at the time.
Whoa.
At which point I stood up and in my inimitable fashion told him that he could very politely go insert himself inside of himself, walked over and slammed the door of the meeting room we were in violently to the point where, I splintered a couple things and left. At which point they had to send the bishop over to my house to discuss with my parents my ill temper. And, then my dad pointed a gun at him and he left. But
what are you doing on this property?
I kid. But Boy Scouts and I never quite congealed. And again, something that really dramatically altered my personality, because that's the first time I ever told somebody to, this is our one, we'll get away with it here because we're never going to get monetized. first time I told someone to go fuck themselves, I was at a church at age 12 and, being preached at for not wanting to go to a scout gathering.
I mean, I couldn't blame you. Like being put on the spot, called out like that. No, fuck that.
Yeah, yeah. I do not play well with others, I think, is the common descriptor.
I can't imagine anyone responding kindly to that. Like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a
Well,
loser. Oh yeah, thank you.
I grew up in a very interesting town. We'll leave it at that. But
I mean,
the cattle outnumber the people in this particular burg, and
eh.
yeah, it's what it is. You don't have the right last name, you're not going to be welcomed into the enclave. And in any event, I think that's enough hand wringing and bashing of religion to all of our new conservative listeners that we've gleaned from our well-placed advertisements. So I know, I'm sorry. So, as always, thank you all for being here. It's a delightful time for us, and mostly you just get to watch us have a little free therapy, obviously. But we hope that you enjoy watching as much as we enjoy crafting these glorious little shows. And if you, in fact, do so, Michael's got some instructions for you.
Smash the like button, ring that bell, hit subscribe, and leave a comment.
Indeed. And if you're one of those joiners, you might be able to find solace here. But as the Marx Brothers famously said, I don't want to be a part of any group that would have me as a member, obviously. So, in any event, we have got a wealth of material here on the Tubes of You that you can catch. There are playlists and recommended materials. We'll have some at the end of the video here, but also as well, in the show notes below, there will be a link tree to all of our relevant socials. You can go stalk us there. And of course, new episodes of our podcast wing your way every lovely Monday morning on your preferred provider app. So check us out whenever you would like to if you have not already. But I think that is all the plugs that I'm capable of presently, unless that member from the Deacons Quorum is still present. Go plugging something else there, son of a... In any event, we thank you all for being here, and hey, hope something great happens to you today. So for Disinformed After Dark, this week I am obscene.
And I'm a disappointment. And zippity zoop, we're out of here.